Hi, this is Alex Paul with Open Systems Media and Embedded Computing Design, and I'm here at the Things Conference in Amsterdam with the nice gentleman, Olivier Bloch. He's with Microsoft. Now, thanks for coming on, Olivier. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Microsoft's a huge company, obviously. So what division are you here representing? Whose flag are you waving?
So I'm part of the Azure IoT engineering group. So we're the group building cloud services, and we are part of that broader group, right? But we are specialized in IoT services. So anything that is about connecting, managing, extracting insights from the data coming from devices, but also providing triggers for actions into your line of business application. So we're actually covering all of that, including deep analytics, mapping of IoT data, and more.
Okay, that's very cool. Now, how did your group wind up in LoRa?
So what we're looking at is connecting devices, right? So we are specialized in managing these devices from the cloud, analyzing the data in the cloud, but also more and more bringing that intelligence of the cloud to the edge. So think of it as multifold. Right, these devices, LoRa devices, that produce data that are very interesting for us to consume and make available for other broader applications in the cloud. And so we are enabling a connectivity through an open source project that is called the Azure IoT Central Device Bridge to allow people to just like connect that LoRa world into the Azure IoT world, very simply. The other approach is to say, LoRa is about nodes and gateways. How about bringing some of the power of the cloud to these gateways? You have some computing, some storage capabilities down there, and sometimes you might not want to just send everything up to a cloud. You might, for privacy reasons, or you want to implement like offline scenarios.
Kind of like edge computing.
Edge computing, exactly. And so you're able to actually package your workloads from the cloud, point them into the gateways of your choices, and have these workloads run down there. And so Azure IoT has a set of technology that enable exactly that and are perfectly compatible, work really well with LoRa infrastructures.
Very nice. Now, okay, Olivier, then you sounded very applications agnostic here. I can tell you're deliberately trying not to talk about anything specific, but what are some of the application spaces you're seeing traction in?
Yep. We're seeing a lot of things in the manufacturing world today. Not very much like specific to LoRa, it's like any kind of network that actually are applied there. But we are seeing things as well a lot in the smart spaces area. I think this is a very interesting one, like smart cities, smart buildings, kind of things. We actually are working on something called digital twins that allows to create models of spaces, people, and things, and combine all of that into one set of API that allows you to interact with your space, with your models, seemingly, super easily, leveraging the power of the cloud once again. The funny scenarios are the ones that I like the most these days is playing around with drones in farming or what they call like precision farming scenarios. So these are very cool demos. Get to go on site, play around with drones, gather the data from these drones, very often implement analytics at the edge because you are in a remote location, you don't have any networking or just local networking, and basically leveraging LoRa locally, and then eventually when these gateways get in range of any other sort of network, leverage the cloud again. So precision farming is one of my favorite projects that I like playing around. I'm trying to implement that in my backyard at a different scale. My wife is not super fond of that, but you know what?
Well, engineers' wives, what do you, I mean, honey, I'm building something. What are you building?
Honey, it's going to give you better crops, better vegetables, better yard, everything, right?
But then again, that also leads into the conversation that the industry is having. We have to provide a real value to these end users because we can't simply say, it's cool technology, use it. It has to provide a real benefit.
Exactly. I think this is something that we're trying to offer in like several folds. One is like the richness of compute, AI, all of what Microsoft can provide, right, in that realm. On the other hand, these are like, once again, cool technologies, but they apply to a specific set of scenarios. One mantra that we have in the Azure IoT team is to make IoT simple. We want to make sure that people can leverage all of this power to focus on their value add. Like if someone is specialized in providing a service which is about doing predictive maintenance on a specific set of devices, well, they should be able to focus on providing that service rather than implementing the plumbing that is underneath that enables them to deliver the service. So we want to make IoT both on the cloud and on the edge simple, but powerful, right? So that's definitely the value add, I think, from Microsoft. We have a long-time experience in security, in device management, in all the aspects that build an IoT application. And we want to put that, to work at the service of people so that they can be empowered and work on adding value, right? And they are focused, they have skills, they have a specialty. They can deliver that without having to waste time on the what I call the plumbing, which is our job, basically. We're plumbers.
Well, but the other thing, Olivier, is there's another layer of that plumbing in that the hardware. We're not at a point where hardware is moot, but we are at a point where we can be hardware agnostic in cloud development.
I think you're right to a certain extent. Once again, we want to make that simple for people. But when it comes to where we're standing in terms of hardware and how smart hardware is, right? I think you've seen a pendulum of, in the past it was all about bringing intelligence to the device, right? Developing super smart devices, having tons of tools for developing software that would go on these connected devices, and these devices will be directly connected to a backend. And now we're seeing like a reverse effect of, we're bringing back the notion of gateway, like dummy sensors that can communicate to a certain extent, and these gateways are actually able to implement intelligence. So there is a level of abstraction that exists for running software on these devices without really understanding or knowing what the hardware is about, the architecture, the resources, and so on. However, as soon as you start bringing that intelligence back at the edge, you need to optimize for that. You want to run a machine learning, neural network model on an edge device. Well, maybe you're going to need to have some FPGA to accelerate all that. You might need to have some GPU for doing that. And so that's hardware-specific code you're going to have to write, and you're going to have to compile for it, and then you're going to have to deploy it, right? If you have all the layers in between, that allows you to have a seamless management of this hardware from the cloud and eventually configuration. If you have also a way to export these models in the right format with the right compilers and so on, you end up in a situation where, yes, yet again, you might be agnostic of the hardware or not have to really do the hard work for making it work on this hardware. But today we're not there yet. We're working towards that. You still have to understand what's going on the device side of things. In the same vein of simplifying IoT, from the cloud to the devices, we are looking into securing hardware devices. We know that IoT is something where people can freak out, right?
Yes.
For good reasons.
Very good reasons.
Like super scary scenarios. Azure Sphere is a fantastic technology that proposes to lock down the hardware, really like at the architectural level, down there, root of trust, down there in the hardware. In the OS as well, working on an OS for Azure Sphere, which is based on the Linux kernel, and a service in the cloud that delivers security updates to these devices. All of that, once again, like seamless for the users at all levels, whether it's the company deploying these devices and maintaining them, whether it's a company using these devices, the consumer or the operator of these devices. So we really want to be, once again, in that world of simplifying IoT on the device, at the edge, in the cloud.
Excellent. So now, Olivier, where do you see it going? Like, does the Azure program have a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan even, or what do you see around the corner?
Well, you can imagine we have a long-term plan, right? And with that idea of simplifying, what we're doing right now is we're actually proposing various format and various options. In terms of IoT services, in terms of what's at the edge, And what we want to do is work with partners, work with customers on enhancing all of these, deliver what customers want. So it's not that the future is foggy, it's that we actually really want to make sure we deliver what customers are looking for and want. We want to understand their scenarios, we want to implement what they need. And so we know some of the directions we're going into because it's pretty clear. Customers know where they want to go. Bringing the intelligence of the cloud at the edge is something that's like pretty clear that we need to implement. The device management, the support for various types of networks. Because here we are at a LoRa event. But there are other networks as well that might be useful for certain different scenarios where LoRa is not, working, or is not fit. And so what we want to make sure is that having this variety of devices connected over a variety of networks stays seamless. You can manage, connect, interact with these devices in a very seamless way and can focus once again on your value add. You're adding value by providing a service. You're adding value by selling a product, a hardware product or something like that, right? And so you should focus on that. We take care of the rest.
Very cool. Olivier, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I'm really happy.
Thanks for having me.